Welcome back to Van Life Customs UK Limited. Here we have Andy and Penny's long wheelbase T5. So in this video I thought I'd show you the difference between a short wheelbase and a long wheelbase van. Let's get inside and have a look. So as you can see, with the long wheelbase you basically end up with this extra cupboard. A long wheelbase van in the T5 is 400mm difference longer. So it gives you this extra cupboard. The bed and the seating area stays exactly the same. So you do end up, when the bed is put away and in the seating position, you do end up with this gap here, where obviously most U-shapes would come out to about here. So with a long wheelbase you definitely end up with a lot more space, so your door don't get taken up as much. But yeah, again, when the bed's away you end up with a lot more space for loading your stuff in. And if you want the extra length in the bench, you just pull him out and then that gives you the extra length. You can chuck an extra cushion on. There you go. So Andy and Penny, who own this van, they dropped it off a few weeks ago. They spec'd a few extra differences in this van. They wanted a drawer, and they wanted some dividers for their water and storage and stuff. They went with an overhead shelf with drop down doors. I'll just give you a quick demo of them ones. So it's the same as our shelf, but it has doors. Personally I prefer the drop down type door, especially in the smaller vans. It just gives you a bit more, I don't know, like instead of them coming upwards, then you don't have to duck under to see what's in. At least you can see in, because obviously your head's closer to the headliner than this van. So they asked for a drawer, and that's on soft close drawer runners. This is the inside of the main cupboard. So this is the same cupboard as you get in a short wheelbase T5. So we always put this shelf in. But Andy and Penny wanted space for their water and waste, somewhere to keep their portable stove, and then a bit of extra storage. We had an extra shelf about halfway up, and this shelf is removable. So if you need to store something a bit taller, you can. It literally just lifts out, twists, and comes out like that. And then it opens up that side, and it goes in just as easy. Obviously, when Andy gets his van back, he'll put them cables up through the cabinet and up to the end bulkhead. So this is the extra with the long wheelbase. So tambour door again, and in this one we've got two shelves. So Andy's plan is to put his electrical 12-volt control panel on the end here, as we have in our van. When I put this extra shelf in, he was a little bit concerned he wouldn't be able to get to his electricals behind, because obviously it's only a small opening. I've sort of gone for a slightly wider opening at the bottom, slightly smaller, and then obviously smaller again for your smaller items. But yet again, all I've done is I've made this shelf removable. So he lifts up, twists, and then slides out. And they hold on with pegs. Once he's in, he's nice and solid, won't go nowhere. I'll try and put this back in one-handed again. There you go. So they spec'd a driftwood with silver trim, and then went for a white sparkle worktop. I'm going to try and show you the sparkle. I'll try and get this light to make it sparkle. It's really hard to capture this on camera. Maybe my videography skills need a bit more learning. I think you can just see it in that photo there. Anyway, it looks really, really good. It lightens this van up really well. Andy put light grey carpet, and he's used black fixings to hold the panels up, and I think that looks really good. Nice bit of contrast in the carpet. But with the silver, he's gone for a slightly blue floor, and that really complements the silver trim and the silver doors. He's putting a silver CRX 50 fridge in there. So the bed's the same size as our standard short wheelbase. You get your standard under storage in all points. It's the same as the short wheelbase. If you haven't seen how the bed works, nip along and watch our other videos, and that'll give you a good insight to how our U-shape works for keeping all the space together. And this centre part here is removable, and that's where the bed slats are stored, which makes up your big bed. They fitted a USB point here, so when they was in bed they could charge the phones. But had I sent this out as a kit, this back hatch wouldn't have opened. So we've put a little cutout in just to clear the USB points. So although all the units are generally the same, they're very bespoke to each van. So you're getting a very bespoke set of units to your van. Bringing your van to us is a big part of our little business. Although the standard shape of these T5s are generally the same, the way everyone ply lines and insulate carpet's different. And what that does, that throws out the width of the van. So with our units we have this removable box, and obviously we have our slide outs. This part here needs to be the same width all the way along. So if I build these units as a set size, what happens is, say you've used a thinner ply to what I've made the template to, or you've used a thicker ply to what I've made the template to, you've used a thicker carpet or a thicker insulation, that changes the width of the van. So we ask you to bring your vans in, because what we can do, we can make it fit perfectly. It's all cut and built to this van. So I've got a standard template, and then what I do is I just change the shape and the size ever so slightly, a mil or two. That's all it is, a mil or two on either side on each van. They're always different. But this gives me the opportunity to keep these two benches exactly the same distance all the way through. All the templates are pre-made, but they always change very slightly. So this wall here is curved like that. As you can see, the cabinet fits along that wall perfectly. The worktop sits in that contour perfectly. And this happens all the way along, all the way around. The cabinet, you can't see it, it's all hid away. And you'll probably never see it or never look for it, but it's a detail that I feel should be correct. Andy and Penny also spec one of our tables, which works in the L-shaped design for your worktop. So it just opens up your worktop when you've got a lot of stuff going on, and it matches the worktop as well. It's the sparkle. You can probably see it better in that shot actually. There is one thing I have started doing after the last quite a few units I've built. So the trim on all units that I've seen, and I used to build myself, would only ever be trimmed to the floor. And then the wood sits on the floor. So you've got like the end grain of the ply sat on the vinyl. Well, in our van we had a slight problem with our waste. So we filled our water up again and forgot to empty the waste, which was a big mistake because eventually it overflowed. So we had water all over the floor, down the back of the cupboards. Luckily we got a twin slider in our van and we could get to the other side to, you know, mop up the best we could. But we did have a little bit of swelling in our board because it was sat on the floor. So after that, I mean, this is going back months ago, and I think most of them I've built this year have had this. So I trim the bottom of the units. So my trim comes all the way down the edge, all the way along the bottom, and then goes back up. And it does it all the way round all the cupboards. All on the back benches, all on the bottom, all inside the cupboards is exactly the same. So the idea is, if you get some water on the floor, you spill a drink, or you're getting in with wet boots, wet shoes, you do get quite a bit of water from it. Or you make a mistake like we did and your overflow overflows, or your waste overflows, hopefully it'll be a little bit more protected. You're not going to stop it completely. At the end of the day, it's a wood. You're in a camper van, it rains, it's one of them things, you know. And it does dry out, it's not a huge problem. This ply is really good. It's designed for the job. We don't use anything other than, you know, leisure ply, if you like, camper van ply. It's lightweight. Another detail is the water bottles sit on the vinyl floor instead of the wood. Whenever you put your water bottle in, you've just filled it up, chances are it'll have a bit of water on it. So what you don't want is that water that's sat on your bottom of your water bottle sat on the wood. The wood eventually will soak up the water. At least with the water bottle sat on the vinyl won't soak up the water. It'll just leave a damp patch and it'll either dry naturally or you can give it a wipe over when you've removed the bottle. I hope you've enjoyed that update. Nip along and have a look at our other videos. If you need to ask any questions, please give us an email or a phone call. I'll help the best I can. Brilliant, thanks very much. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.